All right, welcome to Success Unlimited podcast, where we discuss challenges, failures of life, the successes of life, how we and our guests define success, have they reached it, and what lessons can they provide and help others with. So, with us today, we have Todd Baker. Uh, he is a lifestyle transformation coach that really works with 35 to 55-year-old professionals, and he's going to discuss his journey to success. So if you are struggling with mediocrity and feeling trapped in a dead end, unfulfilling careers, and you're wanting to embark on a transformative journey and take control and break free of constraints holding you captive, reignite your fire and live the life that you were meant to. Join us today for the next 20, 30 minutes. And like to welcome Todd Baker. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I could not have said that better myself. You need to be in my PR team, I guess, Tom.
Well, I appreciate that. So for folks that don't know Todd Baker, they aren't familiar with the Project 9 life, can you give us some background with who you are and what is Project 9 life?
Yeah, so the greatest thing about it is that the company and what I coach on is based on my own story. It started back in like 2020. I probably weighed 335, looked in the mirror one day and thought, this is not good. Set a resolution to lose weight. Mine lasted a grand total of 3 days. I live in Denver, so day 4 it was snowing, and I was like, I'm not going outside today. But instead of, unfortunately, like most people unfortunately do, they say, well, I'll wait till spring, I'll wait till next year,
Right.
something else will happen. I took that time and really thought about why it was important to me and what my purpose was of getting in shape. And what it ended up with was, it for me personally, it wasn't about like a weight loss, like a certain number of pounds or a certain size or anything like that. It was really um it was more about like, I didn't want to be the dad that sat on the sidelines while my kids were active. Um, I wanted to participate with them and I wanted to be active, not just for that year, but for the rest of my life. Um, and so that's kind of what I preach is like getting people out of the resolution mindset and getting to think about like your lifetime. Like, what is something that is sustainable that you can continue to make progress for every day for the rest of your life? Because when you take that longer term view, it puts everything in better perspective and you're not on that yo-yo of, lose 10 pounds, gain 15 pounds, lose 15, gain 20. Or if it's business, you get off of those wild swings, and because your focus is, let's face it, you're not comparing yourself to what you see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Your only comparison is to yourself from the day before, and your only goal is to get 1% better every single day. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start adding it up, I mean, think about it. If you get 1% better every day for a year,
Right.
at the end of the year, you're 37 times better. That's a lot.
So how do you define that 1% better? I mean, because 1% it's indicative of quantifying your results somehow.
Well, it's just it's about progress. So, and that's not always. Let's say you're on a fitness goal and you really want to get fit, and one day something comes up to where you're unable to do your workout or whatever. But instead of just kind of throwing that day away, maybe you sit down and you think about a way that, okay, the next time this comes up, this is my plan. That's better because you thought about it and you made a plan for the next time. And so it's really not like a quantifiable. It's just when you look at who you were yesterday and who you are today, it's, did you make improvements in your life? And It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be a relationship. Sometimes it's just like coming up with a plan that gets you closer and heads off the next time something comes up.
So this show is all about the definition of success, and we talked about that a little bit, alluded to that a few minutes ago. But how would you define success? What does that mean to you?
Well, for me personally, it's just like in 2020 when I started getting on my goal, like it was very simple, and it was intentionally simple. It was I didn't eat a lot of carbs, I cut out added sugars, and I walked. That's it. I ended up losing 100 pounds over a year, and to this day,
Wow.
I still
Awesome.
walk every single day. And so that's success to me is I'm staying active. I go and do things with my kids, with my friends, with my family, because I can. Now, each person, they're going to define their own level of success.
Right.
Like we talked about at the beginning, some people, it's like, I want to get to Russell Brunson's level. Other people, it's just like, look, I just want to get off the couch and I want to be able to go and walk around the block. And wherever you're starting, you need to make your progress towards that and celebrate your success. I think that's one thing that misses for a lot of people is they only say, I'm going to celebrate when I get to my end goal. No, man, you need to celebrate as you go through it because you're making progress and progress should be applauded.
So what are we about almost 26, 27 days till the big January 1st resolution thing,
Yep.
And there's only been a handful of times for me personally, Todd, where I have said, I'm going to do this year. And usually it wasn't anything really to do with maybe a family goal but it was more personal.
Mm-hmm.
But those are challenges that people will put on themselves sometimes every year.
Yeah.
And what's been your experience? How do you resolve that, or how do you advise on something, that resolution, January 1st?
Well, my first guidance is stop doing it. Stop setting
Got it.
resolutions. It's because statistics show it. 80% of
Right.
people are done in 3 weeks. 99% are done by April 1st. And then unfortunately, by April 1st, most people are like, I'll wait till next year. And I sit there and I'm like, you got 9 months left in the year. Like re-goal or do something. Um, but I think there's a difference between your ultimate goal and the how. And so, like what you're talking about with the resolution, the problem with it is people set these huge resolutions and then they give themselves only 12 months to get it done. And you're setting yourself up for failure. Whereas if you look at it as something that you want to do for the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your huge goal,
Right.
then when you break down like how you're going to get there, those become your intermediate steps. And that becomes where you can break it into, this year I'm going to get to this level. The next year I'm going to get to this level. And
Small decisions.
you celebrate those individual steps, knowing that you're ultimately leading in whatever 15, 20 years towards that, that ultimate thing that you set out, that list, that item that's on your bucket list or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, the biggest thing is stop setting resolutions because you're setting yourself up for failure from day one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
something that I've personally struggled with, and folks I've talked to and on this podcast and off the podcast, surprisingly, a large number of adults struggle with motivation. Motivating, trying to get out just to make friends, motivating just for a simple walk. Their comfort level might be the couch. How do you get for me, I have a different a way of motivating myself, and everyone's a little bit different. How would you? What recommendations would you, or what suggestions would you say to somebody to help them get motivated?
Well, I think that there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is an external factor and it's fleeting. You can wake up one day and I see a poster and it's someone standing on a cliff with a beautiful view. I'll tell you right now, that does not motivate me. I have a fear of falling. So I look at the picture and I'm like,
Right.
hey, I'm not looking, I don't, but you find your true inspiration by asking yourself why. And like every fifth grade English teacher has to all of us ask why 7 times before you get to the real answer. So like, if it's a business goal, why is it important that you get to this level? And you answer that. And then you ask, okay, well, why is that important? And you start digging in, because a lot of times what that fire is that burns inside of you, it might not have anything to do with what your goal is, but through that it links, and that becomes what motivates you and what gets you going every single day. Let's face it, if it's I want to lose 6 pounds this year, and one day you take off, all of a sudden one day turns into 3, turns into 7, turns into next year. But if you're backing that up with my purpose is to be active for my kids and I'm not failing my kids, that gets you off the couch.
Yeah, well said. I once heard that big decisions are really first made with all the small decisions that kind of come in front and before that big decision. And sometimes it's not necessarily if there's not a good why behind it, if there's not a something that will and I like what you said. Motivation is not inspiration. It's more external, but there's got to be a why behind. If it's life threatening, if it's it needs to become maybe a lifestyle. And not talking about, January 1st and resolutions. People say, well, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. But there's a lot of things in life, right, that are really as important, if not more important than looking, a different body shape or style or whatever. Some people, it's like, I want to dedicate my life to raising my children, to make them good citizens. Got to be a why behind, that thing that you really are pushing to have success in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like and it's an overused term, like always have your why. But if you actually take the time to figure out and are honest with yourself and ask that question as to why it's important to you to get to wherever you're going, and you truly kind of dig into it, you're setting yourself up for success rather than setting yourself up for falling short.
Yeah. What are some, if you could pinpoint 1 or 2 major obstacles or challenges, what would they be?
Yeah. So the first is mindset. It's like you have to, before you launch into any program, I don't care if it's with me or, you come up with something on your own or whatever, but you have to put yourself in the proper mindset of, positivity, of growth, of progress. You have to uncover like what's held you up in the past, and you have to put yourself in a position where, for lack of a better term, you're all positive. Like, I'm going to make this happen, not I'm going to see if this is going to happen. And then the last 2 things is clarity. Like, you have to be clear on where you're going, because Tim, to your point, life is full of like dodgeballs and stuff coming at you, and life and goals and anything like that, it's all about course corrections. That's all life is. It's like taking off in LA and landing in Miami. The pilot's not flying the plane. They're just course correcting the entire time. So is life. And so by identifying what's held you back in the past, you're able to kind of navigate those course corrections, but you have to be clear on what you're going for and don't let that get confused. And then lastly, and probably the most important, whatever program you're getting into, be it with a coach, be it with yourself, do not complicate it, make it simple. The program that you're going through, it should not be the challenge. It shouldn't be the challenge of
Right. Good.
46 of this workbook. I don't know what I'm doing. Did I do page 45 correct? What's next? It should be simple. My program is 5 steps. That's it. It's I don't have a workbook. I have 2 pages basically. And it's because the program is simple because the work is going to be hard. It's the difference between I didn't say it's easy. I said it's simple.
Right.
The work is hard.
I love it.
Yes, I like what you said. It's not the program that's the thing, right? It's don't make it so complex that you're trying to fit the program.
Yeah. It's like, it's the program itself should be pretty straightforward. And
Good.
I mean, it should almost be like, I've had people do it. They're sitting there like, why didn't I think of this? I'm like, I don't know. Why didn't you? but I'm glad I'm glad you're here now. So.
Right. Who are some along your journey? Has there been talks? Have there been books or mentors that have kind of helped you along the way?
Oh God, I mean, I'm fortunate. I am a voracious reader. I read pretty much everything on everything from self-development to overcoming obstacles to, I read one of my favorites is Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
I love his TED Talk.
Oh yeah. Awesome. I mean, he's unbelievable. And
he is.
The thing I love about the Start With Why is it echoes exactly what we're talking with. Like, start with why. Don't start with how. Start with why you're doing it. And just that simple premise, it starts you off on the right foot for everything. But I mean, between him and Richard Branson and, just everything that I can consume, I do, because I look at it and even if it's a completely different topic, there's always stuff that you can pick up and always stuff that you can take out of it that are going to make me personally better. It's going to make my coaching better. As a coach, I don't look at it as, I'm reinventing the wheel. I'm just a filter. I'm the one that takes all of this information and then filters it down and gives it to my clients because they don't have time or they don't want to go through and read or do all this stuff. That's what I'm for. And I just filter that stuff down, add my own thoughts and ideas and my own experiences, and then deliver an end product.
Wow. I have an interesting question here, maybe that kind of goes along with what we're talking about today. And so I'm not really a golfer. I do enjoy the outdoors and so golf, when I do play, it's if I can just get that one good shot,
right.
I can come out and play next month or next week or whatever. So tell us about, have there been some significant wins for you that have just really put that, when you needed that win, it put the fire back there, back in the belly, so to speak?
Yeah, for me, I mean, like me personally, like with my journey through health, it was every month. It's just like it wasn't like a specific item. It's just I started feeling better, and I could walk further and I could go faster. And
Oh, good. Right.
what I found is that it changed my desires as to what I wanted to do. You know, it went from just like, I want to get out and walk the paths around my house to, you know, I want to go hiking in the mountains. I want to go, I mean, for, you know, Arapahoe Basin is a ski area out here. I started at the bottom and walked to the top and then walked back down. And it was so fun. I ran like a, you know,
Wow.
I ran a 10K at Red Rocks, and I did a bunch of other stuff that I never thought was possible for me.
Yeah.
But it filled me up in a lot of different aspects because I knew that the work that I was putting in was equating to my overall fitness and my activity level and my desire for it.
Yeah.
On the coaching side, I love her to death. Her name's Katie, and she came in really wanting to improve the relationship with her husband and her two kids. And, you know, she was struggling with stuff and time and all sorts of things. And she set a goal for herself that she, admittedly, she said it. She's like, I think this is too big of a goal to set. And I said, Katie, this is your life. It's your lifetime goal. Don't change it. Let's just break it down and take these steps. And so she did, and she was making progress. And then 5 weeks later, a different person showed up on the Zoom call.
Cool.
She went from like sitting like this to she was like this.
Yeah.
And she was all of a sudden, like, her energy level was different. Her confidence was different. Like I was just like, what happened? And I asked her afterwards, I said, Katie, what happened? And she says, you know, she's like, here's the thing. I know that I said my goal was too big, but over the last 5 weeks, I've stuck to it. I've made progress. All of my friends are telling me how proud they are. My kids are telling me they love me. My husband is like thrilled with everything, and he's starting to make plans. And she says the seminal moment came when one of my best friends came up and said, Kate, you're doing so good. We're so proud of you. You're changing your life. It's amazing. You know, you keep doing what you're doing. And she said the moment came because as she's saying that, the only thing I could think was, you haven't seen anything yet. So her goal went from way too small or way too big to she had passed it, and now it was too small. And she is soaring now. And I still, you know, she's gone through her program and she's stuck with it. And now she's on to bigger and better things. And her family is right there with her. So it was one of those where she embraced it, and it taught her like the power of just making the progress and sticking to a simple program. Right. And it's paid off for her in spades.
Sounds like she had several moments where she had a moment of, wow, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
I began to think that, you know, this is possible. I can, you
yeah.
Know, you begin to believe, right? So,
yeah. And her mindset was right when, you know, when her friend came up and said that to her, and her first thought was, you haven't seen anything yet. It's like she was already, you know, she was Elon Musk thinking 5 years down the road.
Good stuff.
So something you alluded to is Katie had a support group.
Yep.
Maybe not at first, but within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, at some point, her close family, friends really rallied behind her and really encouraged her. And really, that might have been a catalyst for her mindset shift, is this support and the people that she's surrounded herself with.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it's one of two things. It's like, I've had people like Katie who she actually didn't share with people what she was doing. She let her actions actually just, you know, it was very personal to her, but her actions are what spurred her support group. And I've had other people where they've gone out and told people, this is what I'm doing. I need your help, I need your support, or basically get out of my way. And that works as well. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Sometimes people take their goals and they're very personal to themselves, and it's kind of like this guarded thing, but their actions spur support. And other people, they share it because they need that support, and they know it right out of the gate. And there's no wrong answer to that. It's whatever you're comfortable with, and whatever's going to help you continue on that path.
So I want to shift gears just a little bit. We are recording in probably arguably one of the busiest seasons of the year in December. And people going into the new year, the first week, 2 weeks, super busy, all these resolutions, all these goals for the year. But notwithstanding the influences of holidays, vacations, professional life constraints, sometimes they get so busy they struggle between a work-life balance, or at times there's a conflict between what they really want to do and what they have to do. What advice if I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm working 100 hours a week, I have 2 kids, single parent, what advice would you give to that person, or maybe even just that professional that is just working all the time and wants to be home but can't?
Well, I think it boils down to priorities. Like, you have to, and there's a lot of different tricks and stuff out there, from time blocking to, writing down like how you spend a day, because it doesn't matter if you're working that 100 hours a week. There's plenty of time in that day where you're not really, if you're writing it down, you're not doing anything. And you can kind of condense that. But it goes to your priorities. Like, what is your priority? Is your priority working 100 hours a week, having a bad relationship, doing X, Y, and Z? Or is your priority truly looking to improve the relationship with your family, to have more balance in your life? Right. Because if that's your priority, then you have to make it a priority. And I'll give you guys and the audience here just the most simple trick to get your year started off on the right foot. And Tom, like you said, it's a busy time of year. You got holidays, you got New Year's, you got all this stuff. The most simple way to start your year is to start now. Start right now. Like, it's before Christmas. It's before New Year's. And I'm not saying like you got to like, okay, I'm going to go walk in tomorrow, but start your planning purpose and start working on it now. There's no rule out there that says you have to wait until January 1st. Correct. December, December, whatever can be your date. And it's like, all you got to do, I'm sure you can do it. Go to a calendar store and say, I want a calendar that starts with the new year at this date. They'll make one for you. And just start, because, it's been proven, it's like the longer you put stuff off, the less likely you are to do it. And all of a sudden you're going to start making excuses. Well, life got in the way. I don't have time. I got busy with this. And all of a sudden it's April. And now you're thinking about next year. Whereas if you just start something and get the ball rolling now, think about it. You got 3 weeks left until the new year. Imagine going into the new year and not having that be your launching point, but that being your springboard, because you've already started.
Sure. What a difference. Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of talked about, success and having success and having some wins. I know, Tom, we're kind of getting close on time here, but so maybe kind of you briefly, when you kind of introduced Project 9 today, you talked about yourself a little bit, and you saw yourself in the mirror and you're like, no. And some people deal with failure maybe not so well, but let's just kind of talk for a minute about failure. What is maybe a significant thing that you're just like, I didn't win. This was a failure for me, or it was something that brought some focus for you, and tell us how you kind of handled that piece.
Yeah, so let's go back a couple hundred years to Thomas Edison. Thomas
Yeah.
Edison, when asked about the light bulb,
Right.
said, "I never failed once.
Right.
I just figured out 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb." And that
Right.
goes to mindset, right? Like, you're gonna have challenges. It's gonna happen.
Right.
You're
Gonna
gonna
happen.
have days
Right.
that don't
Sure.
go the way that you want. But if you look at it as not a failure, but as a learning opportunity, like, what could you have done
Good.
differently or adjusted, or maybe it was you got cut short on time and you only had 20 minutes to go for a walk and you decided not to, whereas next time it's like, I'm still going to go, it's just going to be 20 minutes.
Sure.
But it's learning from those things that come up that don't go as planned. And just, if you look at them that way, not as failures, but as just opportunities to figure out a different way to do something and learn.
That's right. I think it's well said.
That's the best way of doing it. And that's the way that I dealt with it, because I mean, let's face it, over the course of a year, there was plenty of days where I was like, oh my God, it's raining, it's snowing, it's cold. And I would just figure out something else to do. Like, I'd go to the gym and I'd walk around the track, or, I'd go in the morning because the storm was supposed to come in the afternoon. And just having that foresight to adjust and learn that nothing's going to stop me. It's not a failure. It's just an opportunity to figure out a different way.
Yeah, I think that's well said. It's not just enough. I mean, you're gonna have some letdowns. It's we're fallible, right? And so you have to learn how to use that as an opportunity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's exactly it. That's all they are, is opportunities. And you never know, like, when sometimes those learning opportunities, like, what if you looked at it as a failure, you're like, oh, this is terrible. But
Right.
if you look at it as a learning opportunity, who knows? You might find a different way to actually go through your rest of your life and the rest of your program, because it's like you found a different way and you're like, actually, this works better. I'm going to do it this way now. And, if you're not open to that possibility, then you never see it.
Yeah. Vulnerability.
So let's wrap up with, I guess, the last question, and it's open-ended, and the floor will be yours. If you had to boil your entire life experience, your coaching profession, all the books you've read, seminars you've sat through, what's the one piece of advice that you give most often to make the most difference in someone's life?
That is such a great question, and it's, as I think I've kind of echoed, it's a very simple answer, and it's something that I preach to everyone. If you want different in your life, do different. Simple as that. It's the old fly against the window thing, but too often people, they want something more or they want something different, but they don't do anything. They keep on the same path that they're on, even though they want something else, but they don't make any changes. So if you want different, if you want more, if you want, more money, better health, better relationships, whatever, and what you're doing is not getting you there, do different.
Well said.
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Tim,
Yep.
any last parting comments here?
No, it's really, really great to spend some time with you, Todd. And you're making a difference in a lot of people's lives, and that's such a big deal. I firmly believe that to get, you have to first give.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think if you'll do that enough, if you'll give often, and rather than just be a taker, but a giver, I think you'll find that there's a whole lot more value in giving than there is receiving. And it's kind of what makes our world go around. It's we want success, but it takes walking through the journey of life and learning to provide value, be a giver. So appreciate you coming in today. It's been fun. We'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was a lot of fun talking to you guys, and yeah, I mean, Tom, I know that we kind of met very briefly with Sandy real quick, but yeah, it's been great, guys.
Well,
Yeah.
Todd, thank you so much for your time, and
Good light. Awesome.
thank you. Take care.
All right, guys.
All right. Awesome.